in schools in Enfield, the wonderful Black Sock. So we'd just like to wholeheartedly thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to put this event on.
I'm a father of 2 young children. People look at me like I'm old and say, is this your second family? 11 and 6. I failed my teacher training degree in the pandemic. So I'm really passionate about this. If you take 2 eggs from that basket and put it in that basket. Anyway, so that hasn't worked out too well for me. So it's lovely to be able to talk to a lady with lots of degrees and a teacher. So
So one of our aims are to empower and inspire people to operate and get into influential positions and occupations that will enable them to make a change within their community. We also are aiming to give guidance to those individuals who wish to support people who would like to get in these positions of influence, and to encourage home work-life balance and raising aspirational children.
what you're talking about as an investment in training. And I ask this because obviously father to father are a key part of what we're doing here. And we are pushing a kind of community, family spirit where we're investing in an individual to make them the best that they can be.
And that's what I said in the first instance. That's what I benefited from that community saying to me, keep on going, keep on doing what you're doing. It's very easy for me to fall out at any stage and go and work for Hackney Council, go and do something like that. And it was very easy for me to go and try and forge a career in a different route. But they kept on saying, keep on going, keep on going.
What did that keep on going mean? Because what we're talking about here today is leadership, it's inspiration. But now you look back at it, what does keep on going actually mean?
I think keep on going, a bit of like what I've said before, I think keep on going to me means that, internally and externally, there's going to be barriers. And when I mean by internal barriers, we put our own up sometimes, where we have self-doubt about going for those promotions. We have self-doubt about pushing ourselves forward. Eddie, you might have self-doubt about going for that role and saying, I don't want to go for that role. It's not for me. It's not for me. And I think as Black people in Britain, we kept on looking at that. There's a lot of things that we'll say are not for us. And being a magistrate wouldn't have been for us. When my father came over, he taught him, he was working the railways and working in the accounts office, plus training to be a barrister. Now, they might have said to him, it's not for you. And I think what the keep on going means is eliminating those internal barriers and jumping over those external barriers.
Can't hear you, lovely Eddie. Little technical difficulties. We're getting there, guys. No. Well, I will absolutely welcome everyone to Walk This Way while my lovely co-host Eddie Nestor just sorts out the technical difficulties that he's having. My name is Lisa Marie Carr, and I would like to just welcome everyone to Walk This Way, which is taking place right now. We're starting dead on time. As you can see, we're having a little problems, but lovely Eddie Nestor will be with us shortly. Walk This Way is brought to you by Father to Father in partnership with Enfield Council, sponsored by Nexus Enfield. We're having a special big up to Enfield Council for giving us this lovely, amazing opportunity. This is the second time that I'm co-hosting with Eddie. And the reason that we have created and been given an opportunity to have this platform is that Walk This Way seeks to create a platform which inspires the local community to take up influential positions, to drive change and represent and reflect the communities that we serve. Our aims are by empowering our audience, so that's everyday people like you and me, to get into influential positions and occupations to make change within their community. We're hoping that this show tonight will offer some guidance to you. We've got some amazing guests on this evening, and we're hoping that because they're coming on, they want to actually help you get into these positions by sharing their amazing stories. And we hope that it will also encourage a home work-life balance and help you, the parents, to raise aspirational children. We're going to be interviewing some professionals tonight who are handpicked. So every time that Walk This Way takes place, which is brought to you by Father to Father, which is a phenomenal organization with Courtney Brown and his lovely wife, Lois. We're hoping that what this platform does is give you an opportunity to hear about different professions that you may not have thought about going into, such as a school governor, for example, a magistrate. And we do have an amazing lineup this evening. I'm just going to see if lovely Eddie, no, he's not with us yet, so I'll just continue. And this is the Eddie? No? Right, so I'll just continue, okay, guys? So apologies for that, but it's live and the show must go on, as they say. So Father to Father, if I could just talk about the great organizations that have allowed us to put on this show tonight. So Father to Father is an award-winning community interest company, and their mission is to increase the proportion of children growing up with involved, responsible fathers and male role models by providing adolescent boys, fathers and their families with mentorship, information, advice, guidance, support and training. They have a range and a host of different programs, and they also do lovely things like providing baskets and hampers over the Christmas period for families in need. So they are trying to be a relevant organization that not only help families with training and support and information, but also practical help and care. So some of the programs that Father to Father runs are things such as support groups that enable men and their children to obtain support, teaching and network with other fathers and expert organizations. Nexus is funded by Enfield Council, and they help reduce permanent exclusions in school and reduce youth violence in the London Borough of Enfield. And our dear Councillor Keezer was key in getting the funding for this project. So we always like to say a special thank you to her. And the aims of Nexus are to connect with young people, parents, schools, the voluntary and community sector and faith groups, and to help Enfield become a safer borough to live in. And we're certainly not suggesting that Enfield is not safe, but to be an even safer borough than it currently is, and to build positive relationships with others that will empower our community to unite together and stay connected. So that's some of the phenomenal organizations that have come together in partnership to help us put on Walk This Way. Now, the lovely gentleman who is the visionary of Father to Father, his wife Lois, will be coming on board and assisting Eddie and I by reading questions that the audience may be writing in. I know that you're coming to us from the Father to Father YouTube page. So what we'll be doing today is, as well as interviewing some of our amazing guests, we hope that you will kindly comment and post and share your questions. And Lois will come on periodically and she will let us know what kinds of questions are being asked, so those can be put to the panel. And an amazing lady called Laverne Antrobus, who is a psychotherapist, will be joining us at the end to give her expertise on all the subject matters that have been discussed earlier today. So I'm just going to see if my lovely Eddie's with me.
Well, I'm trying to talk. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good evening, sir.
Oh, can I just Nathan? Come. Let me just say, this is Nathan. I'm at the BBC. I've literally. Thank you very much, Nathan. I appreciate it.
We love
I
you.
owe you a drink. So please forgive me. I am at the broadcasting house, new broadcasting house, W1. I literally finished my show at 7:59 at 15. And I came on and somebody tampered with my computer settings. So I apologize. I take full responsibility. Lisa, all of that you just said was supposed to have obviously been said by me. I think you did it magnificently. Well done to you. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Walk this way. I tell you what, a lot of the time, particularly after George Floyd, we talk a lot about how it's tough to be whoever we are and how difficult things are. So to be working with a team of people who are literally trying to put something in place to say, right, well, here's how you can do this. Here's how you can get support at this. Here's what's available for you with this is lovely, because a lot of the time we talk about the problems and here we are talking about solutions. They always say, be the change that you want to see. And it's lovely to be here doing this with you. Let me just emphasize again, as Lisa said, it's really important. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Facebook, it's really important that you get involved. We've got a number of people who are activists, who are successful in their own fields. And it might be something that you thought about, being a counselor, I don't know, being a community worker, being a mentor. And it's really important that you use this opportunity perhaps just to investigate, to ask a question. Who do I see? What do I do? How much does it cost? Where do I go? Do I have to wear a special outfit? Do I need hair? Whatever it might be, just get involved. Let's see your comments at the end of it. Lois, the lovely Lois from Father to Father, is going to come on and read your questions, that if you have them, to a particular guest. We've also got Laverne, who's a psychologist. So as well as analysing me and Lisa, Laverne will be talking about, because one of the things that I've found is that, I'm trying to do lots of stuff, but actually I was fitting my children in about my work. And I think that if we're encouraging people to do stuff, it's really important that you kind of go, well, here's how you have to try and do it. Maybe here's the impact that it has. Here's how you can take your own family on the journey with you. So all of that's coming up, right? So I think we've talked too much now, haven't we? Lisa, thank you for your patience, and we are good to go. So if I may start, as I said, please get all your comments in. If I may well start and say, it's for me, I am only patron of one charity, right? So for me to do this interview is an honor too. It's a charity, an organization that gets children who perhaps are at the verge of difficult stages, and we all know they're subject to all sorts of influences, and it helps to turn them around. I've seen evidence that what they do work, and today sadly we've got stories in South London of another kid that's died, and I think that all the things that impact on them are really important. So let me invite Leila Thomas, head honcho there from Urban Synergy, to come on and to talk to us all this way. How are you, Leila?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Let's start at the genesis then. Urban Synergy. Why?
Where do I start? Many years ago, every time I turned on the TV or wherever I went, I was hearing a lot of negative news about young people, and it's people who look like me. My parents are from the Caribbean, Jamaican, and how I know them and how I know that community is they came over, they worked together, they supported each other, they looked after each other. So I thought, this isn't right. Something's going wrong. Why another young person's taken another young person's life. And I thought that was unacceptable. I thought, what can we do as a community to talk to young people and find out how we can support them? Because how can you respect a community that doesn't respect itself? So I thought we had to take action to help that young person to understand and see how we could support them. Every young person has a talent. I worked in the city. I worked in a company that I didn't see many of myself as well, and I was wonder, why isn't there any other Black people or females working in? I work in technology. Why aren't I seeing this? However, there were 15 minutes away. There's a whole community of vibrant talent, and it's complicated. Many times I noticed it was about awareness and young people maybe not having the connections in their family to get access to those opportunities. So, taking a leaf out my parents' book and, believing many hands make light work, for how can we all come together to provide an environment to help those young people to realize their full potential and build their confidence and just help them to access that world to reach their full potential, because we believe every young person has a talent.
And so, was that impacted by your own son?
Yeah, it definitely will impact him. I believe
the idea to do it, and what you're seeing with young people. Once you become a parent, your view changes on because you all of a sudden see your child, don't you?
That's right. Yeah. I've always been, before I had my son, actually, I've always been doing things in the community. You never noticed it because I just believe it's just the right thing to do. So if you can help somebody else, then you should do. But then when I had my own son, you want an environment for your child. You don't learn everything from your family. Of course, parents are the child's first teacher, but it's about providing an environment, as they call it, a village, to surround that young person. So if you're driving on the road and you see something's wrong, you can stop and help that young person, or you feel confident to support them. And so Eddie, if your son wants to work in technology and my son wants to work in journalism, that's where you do that exchange. And it's creating those positive stories, so they become inspired. They have that belief. They have this positivity around them, a beacon of light, so they can, transition and, just broaden their career horizons so they can be the best they can be, really.
Talk to us about, because it's mentoring, really. I mean, there's a lot of things it does, but the thing that stands out for me in regards to Urban Synergy, mentoring. Just in case anybody doesn't know, what is mentoring and how does it work?
It's just helping somebody, somebody to take that next step, that step you've already done, and showing them how to do it. It's as simple as that. You've been there before, and you can help that young person to navigate, because sometimes they feel like, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Nobody don't care, these things. So this is where you have a mentor. And that's why I do actually have males in the charity, because many of my male friends at the time would say, Leila, you don't understand. You're not a man. And I was thinking, okay, all right, I understand that. So it became really important for the boys to have the men, like big brothers, to be there, to show them, to be that role model, to say, yes, you can do this. This is how you can do it, to help them have that information to make informed decisions. So the good thing is we work with young people from primary school right the way up to sixth form. So it's broadening their career horizons, open their eyes from primary school, because from a young age, they're choosing what industry they want to be in. So we kind of broaden their career horizons from primary school. And as they're going through transition into secondary school, we supply the mentors. It's funny when they get to secondary school as well, because the feedback I've had is when they start challenging, they start thinking for themselves, they start setting their own values. So they start questioning their own parents, they start questioning the teachers. Does it really work like this? And then, so what with the feedback that we've had from parents is quite interesting. I've been talking to my son or my daughter for years, telling them the same thing. And then the Urban Synergy mentor, we do an event, and oh mum, the pilot said this, or oh mum, Eddie Nestor said that, or mum, the barrister said this, or the mechanic, or the entrepreneur, or and it's lovely. What's great about it is, with that environment, with our young people have met Usain Bolt. They've met really entrepreneurs that have done really well. provided an environment where it's normal for people who look like them achieve, and actually they are high achievers. So they become, positive themselves.
I was really impressed. I mean, I am tempted to ask you about father figures. I mean, we're working for father to father here, and maybe, you know, somebody else, if they're listening, as I said, if you just joined us, it's Walk This Way. My name's Eddie. Lisa's with me. She's hosting the show. You're listening to Leila. Leila Thomas is head honcho. You don't mind me calling honcho, do I? Up at Urban Synergy. It's an organization that it works to improve the lives of young people. So I'll leave the father thing. If anybody wants to ask about that in terms of mentoring aspiration, they can. Let me ask you a different story, or ask you to explain. Oftentimes when we do these types of things, it sounds lovely what you're saying, Leila. It sounds, you know, theoretically, idealistically brilliant. Can you practically explain to people who are with us tonight how you have managed to maybe improve somebody's life, change somebody's life, affect somebody's life, and how that makes you feel when you see it play out?
I think it's an entire community, but we believe, you know, the child is at the center of the heart of everything that we do. The child.
Yeah, but I want a specific example of a man, a young man, a young woman.
Yeah, I can give you two, actually. I'll give you two. So last week, I don't know if you noticed, but Google featured 10 top UK Black role models. Out of that 10, there was 2 Urban Synergy people on there. There's myself. But the highlight for me was, it was a party. Don't laugh at me.
I was on there.
Like a big brother. Sorry, I'll grow up. But there's one of our past mentees as well, who's now working for Hogan Lovells, one of the top law firms in the world, as a senior associate lawyer. And to me, you know, 10 years ago when I met him, he said he didn't have any work experience. He didn't have any connections to the law industry. He had an interest, but his family, he's spoken about this, by the way, so I can talk now. He's older. But his family, he was saying, people like us don't work in places like that. Yeah. And from the DLR, on the train, where he lives, it's only 10 minutes away from the city. But there's this barrier that's there. So what Urban Synergy does, we're trusted in the community because we do events. They become to know us, and then we connect them to a mentor. Then we connect them to work experience opportunities, and those work experience opportunities give them a platform to shine. So to future employers, they use it for future interviews. It's their first step into that world of work, that journey. And many of the young people, they're lacking those opportunities now. So it's very important that we stay in touch with those young people. That's a good, that case study is a good one. We stay in touch with them, that we can work with them. It's hard to change the system, you know, and we know this system, there's exclusions where the highest amount of Black children are highest being excluded from schools. And I've seen lots of young people being excluded from schools. So it's important that we provide a positive environment for them and just take them under our wing and give them the right skills, supply the right information, the right support, so they can take that next step with confidence. And that next step can increase the earning potential for that young person, their family, their life, the community, and everybody all together, and the economy.
Yeah,
everybody.
but it's also important, you know, what I've seen. It's also important to tell people what it's possible to be. You know, quite often young people aspire to being, I don't know, pop stars or sports stars. But when they see people in other jobs, they go, "Oh, is it all right? Oh, I didn't know I could go to university. I didn't." So that's one of the things I personally have seen. So look, let me just say again, that's the voice of Leila Thomas, who's in charge of Urban Synergy. It's a mentoring scheme, encouraging, trying to change and turn around the lives of young people. Lisa Marie is with me. I'm going to get Lisa to ask a question in a little while. Just before we say that, Lois from Father to Father is looking at your questions, and Lois is going to come on, and Lois will ask some questions before we go to Lois. Hello, Lois, by the way. Before we go to Lois. Lisa, anything you wanted to pick up on there?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Leila, that I love what you've done. And I think my question is the difference between you and maybe somebody like myself that might want to make a difference in my community, but don't know how to get started. How did you remain motivated? Because I'm sure you had barriers and blockers possibly during your journey starting Urban Synergy.
Yeah, like one interaction can change a child's life.
Mm.
But it's a very serious problem in our community. One day it could be somebody that you know, and that's really worrying for me. I won't even talk about some of the stories, but when I've got friends and family that are frightened to let their children out, and children that are frightened to go out, that's not living life. And actually, at the time I had a job, I was, I've got family that you can give something, like, you give £1, you help somebody. At the time, my son was too young to benefit from where I worked. So that's what I did. So I thought, why not Lisa Marie? Your niece can come in and shadow me. Eddie, your son can come and shadow me. So it's a bit of an exchange.
Done it. Yeah,
That's what we're doing. That's all we're doing. Yeah. And it's just that simple model. Yeah. The children have come back. One of our mentees introduced me to somebody in the city, and now we're doing a connection to see if they can help the charity. And that's our mentee now networking for us and bringing it back. That's amazing. You can't stop it, actually, because your kids are coming in now behind us. We've got to carry on going.
I mean, the thing is to try and make it as big and broad as we can, again, walk this way. We're here just trying to be the change that we want to see, if I'm honest with you, and try to give you words of encouragement. People have succeeded in various fields. Leila's one of them. Lois is from Father to Father. Lois, any questions coming in for Leila? I don't think we can hear you. I can't.
No, my lovely.
There you go.
Got it? There you go.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes.
It's probably my husband always trying to mute me. I talk far too much. So there you go. But we've had some amazing questions come through. Thank you so much, Leila, Eddie, and Lisa. You're doing an amazing job. And one of the questions, Leila, that we've had is, what challenges do you face as a CEO?
Oh, geez. It's making sure we need to make sure we engage with the community, to make sure the community is on the journey with us, to make sure we get that diversity of role models and mentors and support from our own community as well. That's something that that's why it's good to do these shows, so people are aware and aware of what we're doing, so you can refer young people and also get involved. And we can all use our influence to empower, the amazing organizations that are on this show today, and not just Urban Synergy. Just help an organization in some way. You can fundraise, you can where you work, see if you can open a door for a young person to come through, like I did. That was a challenge, and people used to say, oh, be careful, but I'm doing my job. And companies are looking for diverse talent now, so we have to walk through that door really quickly to help that young person to overcome that barrier. But those are the challenges that I found difficult. Fundraising has always been a difficulty, as Eddie knows, but it's because of people like Eddie we've been able to continue. So let's see. I have to dream big, and hopefully we can do amazing things. Right, Eddie?
Yeah. I mean, it's time, really. One of the greatest things about Urban Synergy in the mentoring is about time. I absolutely advocate mentoring as a project, whoever does it, and it might be about your nephew or your niece. It might be giving time to somebody in your circle. Lois, any more questions coming through?
Absolutely, there has been. We've got Zahara Ibrahim, who said, it seems you can't access mentors unless your child is in trouble already. Is that the case for Urban Synergy, or
No. No. So the mentors, we were just helping young people to reach their full potential. So we're trying to ensure young people have the transferable skills. So you can, if you want to have a one-to-one mentor, because we're helping young people transition into work or further education during COVID. It's for 16 to 18-year-olds. We might increase that age as well. So anybody can come through and access a mentor. We're actually UK-wide. So we have got young people from Birmingham, Enfield, South London, West. So if you do have a young person, a nephew, a niece that you'd like to refer, please contact Urban Synergy. We are end to end. So the good thing about what we're doing now, we can do the role models. So the young people in the schools can become aware of many role models, broaden career risers. Then we connect them up to mentors. So we help young people to have those soft skills, transferable communication skills, build their confidence. The last bit, which is the amazing bit, is connecting to work experience opportunities. So we're working with Goldman Sachs, Citibank, London Stock Exchange, Morgan Stanley, Moody's, amazing Dynamic Planner, EC1, amazing organizations, UK Power Networks, and we're supplying paid and non-paid and paid work experience opportunities over the summer.
Fantastic.
So, yeah,
Last
so
one.
end to end.
Sorry, I'm acutely aware of time, and I want to give you the opportunity to tell everybody how they can get in touch. We'll take a final question, Lois, if you don't mind, please.
Absolutely. Someone was asking, how do you identify a young leader and follow up with them?
Oh, they're all young leaders. They're all young leaders, whether they're in their community or their mindset or a positive influence on another person. So we're a charity. We've been going since 2007. Nearly 15 years now. So we're like a family in the community. We're not going anywhere. So actually, we're that constant in that young person's life. It's important that they have a constant in their life that they can come back, and our cycle is end to end. So they start off as mentees, become role models, and they can become mentors themselves. So their cycle goes around. So that young person I was talking about, that's now working in the law firm, he's a role model and a mentor themselves. So the cycle goes around. That's how we follow up. That's success to us, is when they're actually paying it back. But we lead by example. So we plant the seed, and in hope one day, because it helped them, they'll do it for somebody else. But I know that because somebody helped me, and it's a good way to live. So you help somebody else. So that's where it starts. So don't underestimate the impact you make. They never forget you for that. You always remember good people in your life, and you remember bad people in your life. So if you're good to someone, they will always remember you.
You'll always forget what people say, but you never forget how somebody made you feel. And we've all got that favorite teacher, right? So I think you're Lois, thanks. I'm sure you got loads more, but time is on us. Lois, God bless you. Thank you very, very much. Lois from Father to Father. Leila, if anybody's watching this and wants to know more about what you do, either from a point of view of being a role model themselves, a mentor, or they have a child who they think might benefit from some of your experience, where could they get in contact?
We're at www.urbansynergy.com. If you send a message in there, we all directly receive the message, including myself. So yeah, please take action today. If it means you're referring a young person, especially age 16 to 18, to a charity, we are London wide. Okay. And also please use your influence as well, whether that's fundraising, or if you work in an organization that can bring an opportunity back for a young person, then please contact Urban Synergy if they can access work experience.
Are you short of mentors?
No, we've got quite a few mentors at the moment. It's opportunities.
You're trying to train.
Yes,
okay.
We're looking for opportunities and support. Yes.
Brilliant. Leila, God bless you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for what you do, all the people you've helped. And thank you for being part of Walk This Way. Yeah, no, God bless you. That's Leila Thomas there, in charge of Urban Synergy. I'll tell you what, Lisa, I went to one of their big mentor days. So what they did is they got the year 11 students, they got them to dress up in suits instead of their school uniforms. They went in, they ordered the CVs, and I spoke to the teachers after. In fact, I put it on my radio show, and they said they watched little young children become adults. That's somebody, pilots, bankers, actors, whoever came in and gave them the time and talked to them about the way they felt. So I think it is something great. This is Walk This Way. My name's Eddie. That's Lisa there. It's funded by Enfield Council, sponsored by Nexus, Father to Father hosting it, and we are trying to give ideas for people within communities to get involved in the movement, the shaking and the improvement of all that's happening around us. I'm going to hand over to Lisa now.
Thank you so much, Eddie, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we've just heard from the amazing Leila, and now I'm going to have the privilege of interviewing and speaking to a gentleman called Anthony Williams. He is the principal of a school in my neck of the woods, North East London, Oasis Academy Enfield. He's been involved in education and youth work for the last 20 years. Absolutely inspiring gentleman, teacher, senior leader, head teacher. And his desire, and I'm sure he'll share this with you himself, is to improve education provision and outcomes. So he's absolutely got lots to say. Very, very amazing man with lots of awards and accolades and an education degree in education leadership. Passionate, amazing, and I'm really honoured to be able to introduce this gentleman. So do we have Anthony? Good evening, Anthony. How are you?
Good evening. I'm just saying, who did you do that intro for?
I told you, you're inspirational. Every one of our guests tonight is here for a reason. And there's so many listeners. I know that we've got literally 70 odd individuals listening in, and we're getting great comments, and they want to be inspired by people like you. So, you know, someone that, and you look pretty young, Anthony, so you've been in this game for over 20 years. So could I start by just asking you, what inspired you to get into education, that jump from youth work to education?
Well, really, I think it's centered around two conversations. So good evening, and it is it's definitely a pleasure and honor to join the panel here and guests. So yeah, two conversations. The first one really was when I'd not long finished my degree. I was at the university, so on, and I got my first job. So I didn't go straight into education, and I was made redundant. So I was out of work, just bought a house, and I was out of work, and I was a bit of a loose end during the day. So I thought I'd go and see my sister. So I went up and I saw my sister, and it was when I was at my sister's house, and my niece came in. And she came in from school, and she just asked her how she was, and she was telling me how her day was at school. And the irony of it, Lisa, was until I had that conversation, being in a school and education was the furthest thing from my mind. I was in my mid-20s at the time. And I drove home, and I sat in the car, engine running, and I must have sat in the car for about 20, 30 minutes. And it just this recurring thought about what my niece had said about how her day was. And I just thought, you know, I just want to do something different. I knew nobody, none of my friends, nobody. I didn't know anybody who was a teacher or anybody who worked in school other than that. And something just came over me from that time with the conversation I had with my niece. And I just said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to teach. So that was it. I just sat in the car for about half an hour, turned about, went inside, and then the next morning got up and phoned a teacher training agency and said to them, what do I need to do to be a teacher? And they told me. And from a teaching perspective, as they say, the rest is history.
What? Okay. So some of the questions that have been kind of playing in my mind pertaining to you and just teachers in general is, how do you inspire young people, and how do you make the link with the parents? How can parents actually support the great work that you're doing in schools?
I think that, you know, that there's got to be a real passion for what you do. Ultimately, that's really what will shine through. You know, the inspiration is, I don't really think that anybody that I know has gone about doing the role with that in mind to inspire. I just think that it comes out because you're just passionate about what you do, you care about what you do. And I think that that's what the students, the staff, the parents, I think that that's what, you know, reflects from how you go about doing what you do. So yeah, I think it's pretty much about that which comes across. And parents, you know, in a similar way to, I always say about students, they're very young people, they're very perceptive, very, very, very perceptive. And they know, and I think from a generation, if you're, I don't know, second or third generation here, you know that how you parent and how you talk, you know, maybe back 20, 30 years ago is very different to how you do things now. Yeah. The point I'm making is you can be very, very, very stern, very firm, and the students and parents to a degree will have a distinct amount of respect for you, as long as they always know it's underpinned with care. And I think that that's what enables, you know, the forging of good relationships. You can't pull the wool over young people's eyes. They know if you care or not. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you have to do it in a way in which you're trying to be their best friend, or you're trying to act on their level. They ultimately know if you care about them and you want the best for them. And then obviously they will go home like every parent does. They'll say, how was your day? And you'll tell them, and they'll know the teachers that they respect and do well with. And that's what's kind of forges those good relationships.
Now, the thing is, that sounds beautiful, but have you faced any barriers in your journey of becoming a teacher, head teacher?
That's $1 million question, isn't it, Lisa, on this sort of platform? well, I think that takes me nicely into the second conversation I had, and I think this will kind of give you that answer. So once I'd started teaching, I kind of transitioned quite quickly. I was a head of department in my second year after qualifying, and then a few years later I was a head of year. So I was head of subject and head of year. Then I got my first senior leadership position, and then got deputy and head, and so on. So it all happened quite quickly. And the second conversation was around headship, because if you'd asked me in early days, if you'd asked me about being a head teacher, headship, I'd have run a mile. Absolutely not. I just wanted to be a career deputy, because you can be a career deputy because what you do is you get to run the school pretty much. You do a lot of stuff, but then when it goes bad, young people say when it goes left, when things are really challenging, there you go. The buck stops with you. And I have to be honest, I didn't really want that. I didn't have the minerals for it. It wasn't for me. And so I was happy doing that. And when I got to the deputy role, I was really pleased. And then I had this conversation, and it kind of changed everything. So it was my head at the time, and she offered to drop me home to the train station, because the school wasn't too far from the train station. And as we were going along, out of nowhere, because she's never dropped me, so I was thinking, why did you offer to drop me home? And she turned around to me in the car and she said to me, Anthony, she goes, I'm retiring. So I was like, my heart, because I just would love this woman, super head teacher, and I wanted to learn a lot off her. And she said, I'm retiring. I went, oh, my heart's sinking. Why? And then she said, she goes, I want you to apply for my job. I want you to go back. And I looked at her, and this is kind of like, this got connotations of what Leila was saying. Sorry. So I said, what, me? Because I'd only been a deputy for a year and a half.
Right.
And that was what I was saying. I wanted to do that was going to be my career. And she said to me, yeah. And I said, but there are two more senior deputies in the school than me. One's been there for 5 years and 6 years. And she turned around to me, and this is why I liked her, because she didn't pull any punches. She turned around to me and she said, if I was interested in them, she goes, I'd be having that conversation with them and not you. So I said, right. And then she said, and this was the pivotal thing. She said to me, I said, I'll have to think about it, Julie. She said, okay, fair enough. And as I was about to get out the car, she just stopped me, and she said, Anthony, you have to believe in yourself, because I believe in you. And this was probably 8 years ago now, that she said that, 7, 8 years ago. And I've never forgot it. And that woman, Julie Rose, phenomenal woman. And yeah, that was it, because that changed my mindset. I went for the job, I didn't get it, but then I got the next one I went for. So yeah, and that was a journey. So barriers, I haven't. I think there's a simple formula that I've always gone by, really. It's a combination of three things. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I think that comes out because I love what I do. I've always said, my friends and my family will know, I love my job. It's the best job in the world. And secondly, I've always been reflective. I think it's hugely important to always be reflective. I've had some very, very, very brutal conversations and feedback about what I did or didn't do and so on. And whenever that's happened, I've just absorbed it and said, okay, Anthony, what can you learn from this? What can you do better? And I'd probably say, finally, which, everybody, just hard work, just having a really, really good work ethic. And I think those three things have created opportunities for me. Yeah, so barriers, I can't really say I have, because so many people I've worked with have just opened doors for me.
So, well, thank you for that. I just want to get a couple more questions in, and I'm aware of time. But in this climate of COVID, I just wanted to thank you personally from all of us at Father to Father, Nexus Enfield, and Walk This Way, because I think what the educational services have had to deal with our young people, tests, the education. I've heard about it in the media. I have not lived it because I'm not in the educational field. But I just think that the situation that you've all had to deal with this last year and a half must have been tremendous. And for people that are interested in getting involved in any way, be it inspired by your story to become a teacher or to be a school governor, what kind of help and support do you think that the young people of today's generation and schools in general need? What would you need from a everyday person if they wanted help? Where do you think that there's gaps?
There's two huge commodities for me, Lisa. It was money and time. They're the two things. And you know, this organization and people who are doing it, what they've done is they've sacrificed time, some resources and finances, and that's the key, really, because you know, people can talk a lot about certain things, but you know, again, you know, what needs to really happen is the sacrifice of time, investing time, and people appreciate it. I think the thing which all, you know, every head teacher, everybody, teachers, head teachers within the field, and this goes to, you know, mentoring and supporting, is you have to have an acknowledgement that you won't see the fruits of your labor, that you will pour in and pour in and pour in, and you may never see it. And you know, what you hope is that maybe 5, 10, 15 years down, like that seed that you help to plant, you know, blooms and flourishes, and so it's you know, I've always said working with young people is a very selfless task. You know, you do a lot of giving with not the expectation to get it back, and when you do get those things, and it does come back, it makes it all worthwhile.
Okay. And just one of my last questions, any advice on signposting? And I don't know, Anthony, if you've got any speakers on. We're getting a little bit of feedback. You got any speakers on in your?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, well, we'll just plod on. But any advice on signposting, if someone is interested in getting involved, be it being inspired to become a teacher or a school governor or anything in the youth field or working with young people academically, is there something that you'd say, you know, go here or look at this, or my school in particular could do with some assistance in this area?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got the website, we've got the link going down at the bottom for the teacher training HD, the gov., which is amazing. There's so many different routes now that you can take into teaching and governance. So you've gone school websites, you know, in your local area, and you'll find guidance on there 9 times out of 10. And then, you know, additionally, if you link and network with individuals, you know, I mean, I have to give him a shout out. Mervyn Cato, phenomenal man who's doing stuff behind the scenes. I don't think if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be doing this at the moment. But you know, guys, you know, people like him, Courtney, they do an amazing work behind the scenes.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
For individuals, so it's just networking and, you know, opportunities and platforms such as this to do that. So that's what I'd really say.
Okay, I don't know if my lovely Eddie's got a question for you, but if he hasn't, we have got Lois that I'd love to ask Lady Lois. I think there's tons of questions for you, Anthony. Lois, what are the community saying?
Hi, yes, it did. Thank you so much, Anthony. It was an amazing share, and you've got a fan base going on as well. There's lots and lots of love for you in the chat, and quite rightly so. I wish I had a teacher like you when I was at school many years ago. But we have a question from a Dave Green. He's asking have you inspired the teachers in your school to change how they teach Black children?
I would hope I've inspired them to teach all children. You know, it's a matter of, I think, as I said before, it comes from you know, a place of care and passion, that you just want the best for every child. Because if you do that, you know, we're fortunate that the community that we work in, myself and the staff at Oasis Academy Enfield, is so rich and diverse. You know, I think there's 36 different languages. You know, we've got a large, obviously, Black community, Turkish community. You know, it's so diverse. And I think that, you know, if that's the place where you're coming from, where you just want the very best for those children, that you would teach them in, you know, and want the same that you would want if it were your own child. I think everybody then, you know, all children will get the best deals. That's what the best schools do.
Excellent, thank you so much. We also had another one as well from Patrick Marshall. He's asked, do you think a school's leadership should mirror the community they serve?
That's a great question, because I think it is really helpful. Ironically, I've worked in communities that are in London, outside of London, so I've kind of done it in an opposite way. So I've been a black head teacher or a black senior leader in a school that's predominantly white, and it's been the difference. So what I've seen during my time in education is there's been, in schools in more diverse communities, quite a lot of maybe white senior leaders with a predominantly black school or multiracial school, and then conversely the other way. So yeah, and I think that will happen. I think it will happen, because you've got some great pioneers, and I have to give one other person a shout out because he's a fantastic pioneer, because he helped to inspire me. Patrick Crozier, ahead in Haringey, phenomenal. So there's some great guys. And female head teachers and so on out there who are just they love what they do. They're passionate about it, and that comes out, and that's where the inspiration comes.
Thank you so much. I think we do have one more quick question before we go. It's, what strategies would you propose to put in place to reduce exclusions, particularly for black boys?
Fantastic question, because that's what I do. That's what we do, and it's just high expectations. High expectations. I can't stress enough that if you've got really high expectations and they know that it's underpinned with care and love, I know how important it is to keep our black in school. It's so important to keep them in school, because if they're out of the education system, the floodgates are there, and we know what that can lead to. And so it does. It needs strong leadership. It needs tough love, highest expectations. And in my experience, our young black boys, they respond to that, and they stay in school. They are respectful. They do well, and they go on to be to make a positive contribution to their communities.
Wow. Anthony, we could talk all night, but if we did, then we would not be able to speak to our other amazing guests. And I think what's lovely about the panel tonight is that you all complement each other so well. I did see that in the chat. I think you had a nephew that was shouting out that you're the best uncle in the world. So I think that's really beautiful. Your family do not lie, my friend. Okay. No. So, yep, Whitley Williams Arthur. So proud of my uncle. You're inspirational. So I'd like to thank you. I think everybody continues to say great things about you, and you're a credit to Enfield and to your students. So this is Anthony Williams, the principal of Oasis Academy Enfield, and you have inspired us, and including me, to think about how I can get involved, especially being a school governor, for example, with the little ones, because, if we can get in there and make a difference when they're even younger, I'm sure you're dealing with the teens, so there must be challenges there because some behaviors are already kind of ingrained. But I wanted to thank you so much, Anthony, for your time and your contribution. And, you've been in this for over 20 years. Is there anything you'd like to say as a kind of final word of advice to anyone?
The children, nurturing and parenting with children, it's tough. It's hard, and it's as hard as now as it's ever been. And the key, I think, is working partnership with the school and any other support services, because it is that whole bringing everybody together to invest in these young people, because they are great. And I always say to people, when I say what I do, and they say, oh, you're a teacher, oh, you're a teacher, and I say the easiest part of my job is the children. They always have been, and they always will be.
Thank you. So Anthony, thank you very much for your time, my dear friend. I believe now we have a very short video from Father to Father. Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you. Lovely Lois. Hello, Eddie.
How come you lot never let me ask Anthony a question? I wanted to know, as a parent, how do I best support my child at school? How do I support the teacher to get the best out of my child? But you locked me out. I was even writing the question on Facebook, on YouTube. I wanted to know.
Eddie, it was not deliberate. I promise
No,
you.
because it was. No, because it wasn't.
And that was a good question. So
No.
that's one that we're going to have to get answered.
Good evening to you. If you just joined us, welcome. This is Walk This Way. It's a group of organisations really coming together under Father to Father, sponsored by Nexus, supported, of course, by Enfield Council, without whom it wouldn't be possible. And we're exploring options, really. You know, lots of times you think, I wish I could do that. I want to know how you do that, whatever. We all acknowledge there is a challenge, and there are challenges within communities. And here is an opportunity to explore some of the answers. We've heard from a fabulous head teacher there. Look at you. Oh, so many questions for you. So many questions. You and Lois, and cutting Eddie out. I'm not saying a word. And obviously Leila Thomas, who is in charge of an organisation called Urban Synergy, who monitor and mentor people. It's time to move on to our third guest of the evening. He's a man I know very, very well. My comedy partner and I have introduced him onto the stage many a time. Winner of The Voice back in 2014, community activist, and all-round good guy. I'd like to say very much welcome to Jermaine Jackman. How are you, Jermaine?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very well, thank you, and thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for putting on this amazing event.
So when we look at things, let's get the elephant out of the way first of all, the elephant in the room, which is that you are known as a singer. You have a remarkable voice. You have a huge amount of charisma. Does that get in the way of community activism? Because I remember the first time you came onto my radio show and you said, I want to be the first Black Prime Minister, and and it sounded really idealistic. But now I've had a look, you're really into the politics, aren't you?
100%. And the things that make me is my politics, is my music. I can't separate the two. I can't divide the two. My music has helped me in the political world, and my politics has helped me in the musical world. But one of the most important things is me being a Black man. You know, there's Paul Robeson right there, and he says, as an artist, I come to sing, but as a citizen, I would always speak up for peace and justice. And as a Black man, you are living in a world that has systems and structures that prevent you from being yourself, that prevent you from achieving great things. So I'm inherently political. I was born and brought up political. I didn't choose to be.
Yeah, but what does political mean? I mean, I've explored the word political, and with a big or a small p, it can mean different things, can't it? You know, getting my rubbish tray picked up twice a week instead of once a week is political, isn't it? That you're more likely to vote for your local councillor based on that than some of the big issues that we hear. So political means what to you?
Political means every single thing. Because often we think political means that you have to be at the dispatch box in Westminster, and that's not the case. Political can even mean that you have to write a letter to your MP, and that may not be the case. The mere fact that you care about what's going on in your community, and this is the misconception often that people have with young people, and they say, oh, young people are not really political. Young people care about their community. Young people know what affects them in their lives, and they want to speak up and speak out. Just look at the demonstrations and the protests around the world. Who are leading them? It's young people. Who are the people calling for change? It's young people. Think about the climate change activists. Who's the biggest climate change activist on the planet right now? It's a young woman. On those streets in Whitehall during the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, it was young people. It's young people. They are political, whether they see the injustice, whether they see the struggle. We have young people growing up in very tough times. They don't want to live the same way their parents lived. They want to improve their lives. They want to improve their families' lives. Young people really care. And too often we paint the word political as Westminster jargon, and it's not that at all. It's not that. The mere fact that I want to leave my house and go to the corner shop without being stopped and searched is political. The mere fact that I speak back to a police officer when they stop and search me, that's very political. The reasons why they stopped and searched me is political.
So in terms of how you live your life, what does community activism, politicization, what does it mean in your everyday life now?
I grew up seeing social injustice, seeing the struggle, seeing poverty, and I wanted to do something about it. I don't think I can, I'm at the international stage yet where I want to bring about change on an international level, but we always start off from the grassroots because I believe that's where the power lies. And if I can empower, inspire, and change the lives of people on the ground, that's my box ticked for me. So that's why I'm championing a lot of the advocates and the issues that affect people on the ground. That's why I decided to chair commissions in Hackney and in Islington. That's why I visit schools like the Oasis Academy in Enfield, but I think it's a different one in Headley, because I believe there's two in Enfield, but that's another story for another day. And that's why I speak to young people on a level, because they are the next generation. We need to inspire them. I don't need to be on BBC News or Sky News talking about this and that. I prefer to be on the ground with the grassroots.
Yeah, but it sounds great, but do they recognize you, and does that help?
Sometimes they do. When I think about the young people right now, they were born in 2008, 2009, so they were about 4 or 5 years old when I was singing on.
I'm sorry, I was going to ask you that. You know, do you think you still qualify as a young person? But I didn't want to be rude, Jermaine.
That's fine. I'm not a young person. I'm a young adult, though.
Younger than me. Yeah, absolutely.
1995 born. Let me just put that out there. And yeah, so that might be different. It might be difficult because they may be like, "Oh, you on The Voice? Oh, I can't remember that series." I said, "Yeah, because you were 3 years old when I was on there." But that doesn't remove the barrier or my inability. That doesn't hinder my ability to communicate with a young person, to talk to them on a level. They don't want a politician talking to them. They don't want a teacher talking to them. They want one of their peers to talk to them. And I believe that I can still count as one of their peers. I'm not 30 yet. I'm still 26. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, give us an idea of, what to do. Schools say to you, come in and talk to our young people about options. How does it manifest?
Well, a lot of the projects and programs and the way schools get in contact with me and prisons get in contact with me is through seeing what I have been speaking about, seeing me on the picket lines, seeing the commissions that I've chaired. So, for example, the Fair Futures Commission was looking at ways in which we can improve the lives of children and young people in Islington. A lot of people feel like Islington is a very affluent borough, but it has one of the highest child poverty rates in the country. And young people were talking about how excluded they feel in their own area. Hackney, for example, I chaired the Young Futures Commission, which was listening to the lived experiences of children and young people and using that to inform the creation of policy in Hackney Council. So when they're talking about young people being antisocial or they're gathering and it's intimidating in front of McDonald's, I just went and spoke to those young people and they were like, "We're here for the free Wi-Fi. We're not here causing trouble." So it's about how do we communicate with young people? How do we listen to their voices? How do we center their voices in everything that we do? And through that, and through the success of those commissions, schools, prisons, organizations are reaching out to me, asking me, how do I build youth voice structures in their organizations? How do I empower young people? And I often just say, have a young person around the table. You don't need me to tell you that. Where are the young people in your organization? You have a CEO. Do you have a young CEO? Do you have a youth board? These are the questions that I'm often asking. I was like, you don't need me. There will come a point where I'm going to be 30 years old and you can't ask me about no young people questions no more. I will still fight for young people and I will still fight for the community. But you have to ask yourself, are there young people around my table? One of the things that we're doing in Hackney, which is very groundbreaking, we're having young governors in all of our schools. So we have all these governors who are parents or who want to be a governor because it looks great on their LinkedIn page, but have no idea what's going on in that child's life, but they're ready to exclude that child at a heartbeat. Now, let's have a young person on this governor's board who can really articulate and communicate how they feel, what they went through, and what the student may be going through before you push the button of exclusion. Because we know once you exclude a child from school, you exclude them from society. We know the exclusion to prison pipeline. We don't want to keep filling that. So what other ways can we ensure young people's voices are heard at every single level of a school? How can we ensure in every single organization young people's voices are heard? When we're talking about the BBC, when we're talking about Father to Father, are young people around those tables designing the programs and the projects for young people, or are we trying to put our minds into the bodies of young people? Because I know which one works and which one doesn't.
So you're listening to the Jermaine Jackman there, Jermaine, community activist, politician, singer, as you probably recognize him. This is Walk This Way. It's an opportunity for you to ask three of our guests. You've already heard from Anthony and Leila, questions pertaining to what they've said, how they might impact on your life, how they might help you, what they did, why they did it, how they did it, and how they've found it. It seems to me that Jermaine has particularly placed himself in an area which is dealing with the thoughts and experiences of young people. What say you then to people who would suggest young people well know their rights, but they're not quite so aware of their responsibilities?
That's a good question. I will first off start by saying that not all young people know their rights. I often talk to young people about when they're stopped and searched, do they know what to say? Do they know how to navigate those spaces? And often they don't. Their responsibility, young people just want to be young. Young people just want to be young, but what does that actually mean? And I don't know, but I've come across so many young people who inspire me. I've come across so many young people who haven't had a fair chance in life. I have come across some young people who have had adverse childhood experiences. And what we shouldn't be doing as a society is setting out and saying this is the way a young person should behave, or this is what a young person should be doing. It's about understanding what that young person has gone through and what support can we provide to them to ensure that they can be the best person they can possibly be. I've come across young people in pupil referral units, and a young person said to me, Jermaine, when can I go back to mainstream now? Like, I've done my time. They've already seen it as a prison sentence. So when we talk about rights and responsibilities, it's difficult because we have some adults who don't even want to be responsible, and unfortunately has led to the child living the life that they have lived. So we need to all be responsible for young people. We know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So we all play a role in the development of our young people, but we should also provide them with the opportunities, because we know that there's not many opportunities out there currently. So what opportunities do we have for those listening to this conversation? What opportunities are there in my workplace? What opportunities are there in my church or my mosque or my synagogue? What opportunities are there in my community that I can provide to young people to ensure that they can be the best person they can be? And this is one of the things that I often say to young people is, you are in this school and there's about 500 students in this school. In your area, there's about 15,000. In your region, there's 250,000. And in the country, there's millions. What separates you from all of those? What makes you so significant? What makes you so unique? What makes you stand out? And you start to see young people start to soul search. Well, what makes me stand out? Some of them don't know just yet, and that's okay. Some of them know straight away. Some of them know what they want to do, how they want to change the world. But you need to ask those questions. You need to ensure that they feel and they know and they recognize their importance and their significance in the world. And I say this because we are about to embark on one of the biggest mental health crises this country has ever seen. I just developed a music and mental health program in Islington schools called My Voice and Me, and it's helping young people to really process the pandemic and write songs about it. And what I didn't realize at the time, but every young person that was there wrote about losing a family member. I didn't really think much about it. And I was like, damn, why are they talking about death so much? Every single young person in every single school wrote about death. And then I realized that's all they've ever seen for the past year and a half. Those numbers, those daily numbers, death, death, and more death. And my heart goes out to every single family that has lost somebody to the pandemic, to the virus. But we are about to embark on a crisis where young people do not know how to process all of this death. They're talking, it's almost like PTSD. They're now talking about the death of a grandma 5 years ago because of all the death that they're seeing on the news. I'm very fearful. So when I talk about responsibility, it's our responsibility to ensure young people have a fair chance in life. It's our responsibility to identify the flags and to ensure that a support network and a safety net is provided around that young person. We've had cuts to education. We've had cuts to mental health services. We've had cuts to youth services. I know I'm not here to get political, but I'm a black man and I'm political. But we need to ensure that while there are all these cuts happening.
How do we ensure?
How do we ensure? Are we talking to our young people? Are we having conversations with them? We have some parents who just let their young people walk in and out of the house as they please, and that's okay. Give them that freedom, but talk to them. What's going on in your life? What happened on Instagram today? Who's that boy that you're talking to? How did that date go? What happened at school today? Don't just pick them up and put them in front of the TV. Talk to them, communicate with them, because you never know. And this is, you don't know what they're going through.
True.
I grew up with traditional Caribbean parents. What you're going through? I have to pay the bills. That's what parents do. But in their world, it feels like their world is crumbling down just because someone didn't comment on them or they fell out with their best friend. To them, that's their whole world crumbling down. And next thing you know, they committed suicide and they got the mum crying on BBC News. Oh, if I only had known and this and that and that. Well, you should have had a conversation with them. We need to be conversing with our young people more. We need that intergenerational dialogue happening. We talk about the Windrush generation. Some of our young people don't even know. Some of our young people from Caribbean descent don't even know what Windrush is. We need that intergenerational conversation. We need the parents, the guardians, the carers to communicate and talk to their children, to their peers, to their nephews and nieces, to their young people. Yes, they may be standoffish at first, but they will eventually open up because we need to create a pathway of trust. And I believe that when my mom sat me down and she had a conversation, I opened up to my mom. Same thing with my dad, same thing with my uncles. Have a conversation with your children and don't patronize them, but talk to them as if they are adults because they want to be treated as adults. They want to be treated as human beings and not as invalids. Sorry for my little preachy moment.
Inspirational. Eddie, could I just ask a question to lovely Jermaine, just about how we become political to make a change? Because there'll be a lot of listeners, and especially at the moment while we've got the various ministers in the news, and people talking about integrity, how do we, from your perspective, become political to make a change?
We are political. We are just conditioned to believe that what we do is not political. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, to the food that we eat, to the shows that we watch, it's all political. But they want you to believe that what's on Westminster and what's on BBC Parliament is what politics is all about. No. You stopping someone in the street because they're having a racist rant, that's political. You don't have to be a councillor. If you want to be a councillor, that's great. If you want to be an MP, that's absolutely amazing. Go for it. You have my 100% support. Obviously, if you're talking about the right things, but everything that you do is political. To the time young people go to school, it's political. They're now talking about extending the school term into summer. That's political. So. I want to bring it back to what Eddie was talking about at the beginning when I said that I wanted to be the first Black Prime Minister. Given what's been going on over the last couple of years, because I think when I first said that it was around 2015, given what's been happening over the last 6 years, I'm not too sure if this country is ready for something like that. But that won't stop me from saying to myself, Jermaine, you need to be in the driving seat. Because too often as a young black man, and from the community that I come from and from black and other global majority communities here in the country, we've been in the back seat of too many cars screaming at the driver and telling the driver in which direction the car needs to go. It's time we become the drivers of the car. It's time we stand up and we speak out. It's time we stand on those picket lines and protest. It's time we talk to teachers and governors and head teachers and said, are you really challenging systemic racism within your organization? It's time we start writing to our MPs. It's time we start challenging the everyday challenges that we face as black and brown people in this country, because all of it is political. All of it's political.
So let me thank you, Jermaine. Thank you very much. Let me just invite Lois on. Lois, time is against us. A couple of quick questions, if you will. Thank you very much.
Yes, there has been let me see if I'm on mute. There has been quite a few. Dave Green mentioned, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, and what is your goal?
Oh, 5 years' time. Because it's funny, because I'm in the I've just finished uni, writing. I've just finished my political degree. I wrote a dissertation on the relationship between black music and politics, and how it's helped politics, I guess, engage people. And I'm in this sort of weird moment now where I'm thinking about, okay, what's my next move? What do I move on to next? But I'm going to take some time out, do some music, sing, record, release some records, and see how that gets me. But one of my goals is, you can't see, but I used to have my flag up there, but I'll show you right here. I'm from Guyana. My parents are Guyanese. And I've always wanted to build a music university in Guyana, but for students across the Caribbean, because when I visited Barbados, some young people were saying to me, look, there's only so many weddings and government events we can perform at. There's not many opportunities for us here on the island. So I wanted to build a music university for them, a world-renowned one, that will develop their skills and push them out across the world and show the world the talent that the Caribbean has.
Excellent. Thank you so much. There's been amazing feedback from all the powerful things you said. Angela is loving the idea of young people on the governor's board. And we've also got a question, really a call to action. What specific thing can young people do right now? They're listening to get in, listening into this session to get into politics. What thing can you give them a takeaway?
I would say that we are living in a time where they would prefer young people to be quiet. They would prefer for young people to stay in their lane, to stay quiet, to stay silent, and stay in the corner. But if the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, the climate change protests are anything to go by, we need to do the opposite. We need to call for change. If you don't like your situation, speak up and speak out. If you don't like what you see, speak up and speak out. Be brave, be bold, and be black. That's my call to action for young people. Because when society makes you feel a certain type of way, you will become very introverted and you won't want to speak up. But you have to. You have to. Because if you don't, ain't nobody else going to speak up on your behalf. Speak up and speak out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll put it back to the host unless we've got time for one more question.
Just think, sorry, Eddie, my lovely Eddie, and Jermaine, because I'm just aware of the fact that, you know, some young people like to be handheld and practically told, you know, you can join a party, you can. So some of the great things you've said, because you're very inspiring, would an individual literally just decide that they're going to maybe join a student union or join a local political party if that's a practical way that they're going to get involved as a first taster to politics?
100%. I think I was part of the youth parliament because I wanted to have a bit more of a say in my local community when I was around 14 years old. And then I got to meet Diane Abbott, and she was like, Diane and Jeremy Corbyn, and they both said to me, join the Labour Party. and I did, and I became youth officer for Hackney North. Got to work closely with Diane Abbott, and that's how that route worked for me. For others, it may not be the case, but the usual route is to join a party that aligns with you. I know at this current moment, not many parties right now align with many people, but let me stop there. Find out who your local councillors are, very basic things, who your local MP, if there's an issue in your local community, write to them. I'm constantly telling young people, you don't like certain things, write to your local councillor. And you can even become a councillor via that route by joining a party, being engaged with what they're doing, and then applying to be a councillor within a year and a half to 2 years. And then you could potentially be sitting on Enfield Council, Hackney Council, Islington Council. One thing that I will say is that politics lacks young black men, and we need more young black men in politics to be voicing our concerns and the issues that we face. So yeah, those are some of the routes that you can take to Eddie, why are you laughing?
I don't know. Politics Likes Young Black Men sounds like the name of a film to me. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong end, but it's a difficult time. You talk about big politics. The challenge is that politics is a kind of pejorative term. And, when you hear about some of the things that have happened and some of the things you see, it's quite difficult to ask people to aspire to that type of politics. But I absolutely agree. Politics, the things that affect your day-to-day life, your local community, are absolutely necessary, and there is a kind of an apathy.
Also, sorry to cut in, Eddie. But also, you can care about international issues too. We look at the conflict with Israel and Palestine. We look at war and destruction and devastation around the world. You can speak up about that as well. And if your political representatives aren't speaking up about it, you hold them to account because they're there to represent you. And if they're not representing you effectively, you call them out on that. You need to call them out.
I agree.
I think so. Jermaine, we're going to have to leave it there. You've been fabulous. I appreciate you coming on here. On behalf of Walk This Way, Father to Father, Nexus and Enfield Council, thank you very much. Wish you the very, very best. And make sure you put that degree to good use, yeah?
100%. Thank you so much for having me.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
It's Jermaine Jackman there. Interestingly, so we've got Laverne now, haven't we? But Laverne is somebody, I'll let you introduce her, but somebody who can analyze this from a young person's perspective and the like.
Yes, Laverne Antrobus. You're absolutely right, Eddie. She's a child psychologist, consultant child and educational psychologist with over 25 years experience. I think people around the world have heard the name, the Tavistock Clinic. Laverne has worked with young people and their families, and I'm sure that she's got lots to tell us about her view on the three amazing guests that we've just had. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Laverne.
Hi, hello. Well, gosh, three very, very difficult acts to follow, but I'll say a little bit in terms of what I think I heard that really represents the young people that we're thinking about tonight. I think that some of the really key messages have been, listening to young people. And I know that's a really easy sentence, but I'm talking about really listening. I'm talking about putting your phone down, making the space and saying, you've got my absolute attention. And that is a really hard thing to do. So don't underestimate that. And I think the other thing that really sort of caught my attention was valuing young people. And that's quite difficult as a parent, in that if your child is saying to you, you don't listen to me, they're not saying that lightly. They're actually trying to tell you something about what they need. And it may come out in a rather sort of robust or difficult way. But listening seems to me to be very key from what Leila was saying. I thought that Anthony spoke very powerfully about how important it is for parents to not get muddled with what having boundaries means. Having boundaries means you're looking after your child, but you're doing it in a caring and a sensitive way. You're saying, I'm doing it because I love you, because I care for you, and because it's really important. So I felt that that was really helpful, and letting children know that you believe in them. Anthony's whole job is about letting children know they believe in them. Parents, again, busy people, but at the end of the day, you ask your child what they've done at school, they're going to say nothing. You sit next to them and say, tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
You might get something. you might get something. And lastly, just to say that I think Jermaine really touched on something that's very important and central to the work that I think I'm doing at the moment, which is trying to get children to really be proud of their communities and really feel part of their communities. And I'm going to share a very quick story, because I know we're up against time, from a little boy who, when I asked him about his community and what he felt community meant to him, it was about going and sitting in the barber shop and listening to all of the black men talk about their days, their lives, and to ask him how he was doing. So I think that we have to help children understand that they've got to be proud of their communities. And as parents, you've got to point out these markers all around and let them know you feel part of it and you feel proud of it. And they'll want to contribute as well. So I know we've got time against us. So those were the points.
But hold on. Don't worry about time, because you said a few things I'd like to. It's the time thing that's really, really important. And culturally, many of us, Laverne, come from a place where children should be seen and not heard. And so where you say, and you're right, of course you're right, you do it for a living. But actually, to do it, it takes a little while, you know, to turn off the radio in the car, to put down a mobile phone, to try to eat together at the same time. They're all little things, but they're all hugely important. Have you any ways, ideas, methods of which we can create time from our busy day to say specifically, well, this is the minute? Because you're right. When I say to my boys, how was school? They say, all right.
Yeah. I think you've got to be really sort of smart in how you ask these questions. And I think you've got to recognize that time isn't about lots of time. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You can time yourself. Put 5 minutes on your phone and wait for the alarm to go off and talk and just be there. Or just sit there and watch them as they're playing their games. Tell them how brilliant they are. And I think most of all, what we forget as parents is what it was like to be a child. And for most of us, the bits that we remember that went well when our parents listened to us and seemed genuinely interested in what we were doing. So, you know, there's a bit of reflection, as Anthony was saying, got to be reflective parents and think, what did I need when I was that age? What would I have liked my parent to say to me? Give it a go.
Yeah, I feel like you're talking directly to me,
To you.
so, which is probably quite a good thing, because if people are watching, hopefully we can use those things and apply those things to our life as well. I hope you're in the next one. I know we're going to be doing another one of these on the 7th of October at 8 p.m. Lovely to meet you, Laverne. Thank you very much for your concise and brilliant insight into what's been a fabulous show today. Thank you so much, Laverne.
Thank you.
So, sadly, like all good things, we've come to an end. I'll do my bit and you can do yours. You just, because you're better than me, and you'll just pick up on all the bits that I clearly forget because I don't read anything. I just make it all up. So look, you know, one of the things is, in order to make things like this work, you need a number of people working behind the scenes. You've already heard people like you know, Mervyn, and thank you very much, Enfield Council, Nexus, Father to Father,
Right.
you know, husband and wife team, brilliant. Thank you to Lois, you know, and your husband, whoever he might be, and appreciate very, very much. Sorry, Courtney, I'm being serious. Thank you. Thank you to our fabulous guests, to Anthony, to Leila, and to Jermaine.
Yes,
And the people working backstage, you know, putting it all together, Sarah and the like. Look, it's an opportunity, right, to be honest with you, for all of us to look at what we do, how we do. And sometimes you're just doing the best you can. As a parent, as somebody involved, you're doing the best you can. And you don't know that there is another way. You don't know that there's something that you could try, or a way to engage your children. I've certainly taken a lot away from today. I hope you have too. And I would suggest, you know, get in touch with Father to Father. Talk to us about what you would like to see, what you would like to hear, and what you would like to explore. I'll shut up, Lisa.
Thank you, lovely Eddie. Tonight's show has inspired me. Of course, we want to thank Father to Father, Nexus, and lovely Enfield Council that have given us an opportunity to have these great guests on to just inspire us all and to share their humble stories about how they got involved and how they're making a difference. As you know, Walk This Way is about helping us all realize that we can do some little thing to help the bigger picture. I'd like to just say that it's been a pleasure working with you, Eddie, as usual. As you said, our next date is on Thursday, the 7th of October at 8 p.m. We will be working together again.
Spread the word. Spread the word. If you watched it today and you've learned something from it, it's available on Facebook and YouTube. Sorry for interrupting you, Lisa, but tell people, because actually, you know, what we've learned today is the only way that people know things are happening or things can work differently, improve, or whatever it might be, is by sharing the love, a village and all that. Sorry for interrupting you, Lisa.
Not at all. I just wanted to say that I'm really excited about the show on the 7th because I'm going to be a guest and I'm going to get to share my story with you, Eddie. So
am I going to be able to interview you? Because there's lots of things I want to know about you. They might not be right for this, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great opportunity to share my story of how I've become a magistrate. So yeah, I look forward to it and sharing the spotlight with other individuals that are trying to make a difference too. So that's on the 7th of October. And as you said, Eddie, any of our lovely listeners who've been so kind to work with us this evening that can make some suggestions of the kind of topics or subjects they'd like us to explore, or maybe they've got a suggestion of a guest that they think would be great for us to invite on, please do reach out to us on the Father to Father Facebook and YouTube page and Walk This Way, and we'll be really grateful to explore that on your behalf.
Great. So it's just left for us now to say bye-bye. Whatever you're doing, I hope it goes well. Look after yourself. Thanks very much for spending some time with me. God bless you, Lisa. You're fabulous as per usual.
Likewise.
Thursday, 7 October, that's when we're back. Looking forward to having your company then. Take it easy. God bless.
Good night.